It happened in the middle of the busiest hour at the international airport. Travelers rushed past, luggage rattling. Announcements echoing overhead. Just another normal day, until a trained canine dog named Rex abruptly froze on the baggage carousel. His ears shot up. And before anyone could react, he lunged at a suitcase with a ferocity no officer had ever seen. Passengers screamed, security scrambled, and the entire terminal went silent. The dog growled, teeth bared, refusing to let anyone touch the bag. Even his handler, Officer Mark Jensen, was stunned. Rex had never reacted like this. Ever. Was it a bomb? Drugs? A weapon? Something dangerous hiding inside? Officers created a perimeter. Explosive experts rushed in. But when the suitcase was forced open, what they found inside shocked the entire airport and changed Rex's life forever. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The airport buzzed with the energy of a small city. Rolling suitcases echoed across the polished floors. Announcements chimed overhead, and travelers hurried through the terminal like restless waves. It was rush hour inside Terminal 3, the busiest time of the day, when every line stretched long and every seat was taken. Among the chaos moved Officer Mark Jensen, his uniform crisp, his steps purposeful. But he wasn't alone. At his side trotted Rex, a powerful German shepherd with sharp amber eyes that scanned everything. The crowds, the bags, the movements that most people overlooked. To many, Mark was the officer in charge. But to Mark, Rex was the real partner, the one whose instincts never failed. They moved together through the baggage claim area, weaving between carts and suitcases. To them, this wasn't noise. It was a pattern, a rhythm they had mastered after years of working side by side. Mark gave quiet commands, and Rex responded with flawless discipline. Sit. Heel. Searched out a group of children pointed at Rex, excited, whispering about the police dog. Rex didn't break focus. His ears stayed sharp, his nose twitching as he picked up scent after scent. Mark smiled slightly. Moments like these reminded him why Rex was the best K9 in the unit. Everything seemed normal, routine, predictable, but beneath the surface of that ordinary afternoon, something was shifting. A tension Rex sensed before any human could. Mark didn't notice it yet. No one did, because hidden among the endless stream of luggage sliding across the carousel was a suitcase that didn't belong. One that carried a secret heavy enough to stop the entire airport. And Rex, the dog who never missed a thread, was already beginning to feel the first tremors of something terribly wrong. Rex had always been steady, unshaken by crowds, loudspeakers, or the chaos of a packed terminal. But today, something was different. As he and Officer Mark Jensen made their way toward the carousel for routine inspections, Rex's ears twitched sharply. His steps slowed. His nose lifted into the air, drawing in a long, tense breath. Mark noticed the hesitation immediately. "What is it, boy?" he murmured, giving a gentle tug on the leash. But Rex didn't move. His muscles stiffened beneath his vest, his eyes narrowing at something unseen. Travelers streamed past, unaware of the shift in atmosphere. Yet Rex's instincts were telling a different story. He sniffed again, deeper this time, then let out a low growl that vibrated against the tiled floor. Mark frowned. Rex didn't growl unless there was a reason. "Easy," he whispered, crouching beside him. "Talk to me. What are you picking up?" Instead of answering with calm obedience, Rex surged forward a few steps, nose glued to the air, tail rigid. His pace quickened as he zigzagged between luggage carts and confused passengers, pulling Mark harder than usual. Something was drawing him, something only he could sense. The woman gasped as Rex brushed past her suitcase. A man stepped aside nervously. Mark offered quick apologies, though his eyes stayed locked on his partner. Rex's breathing grew sharper, more urgent with every passing second. "Hey, Jensen," another officer called. "Everything okay?" Mark didn't answer. He couldn't. His focus was on Rex, who suddenly froze again, this time staring at the baggage conveyor belt like it had come alive. Something was coming, something hidden, something Rex recognized before any human eye could see, and whatever it was getting closer with each rotation of that conveyor belt. The conveyor belt hummed steadily as luggage slid down the metal chute. Bright suitcases, battered duffels, backpacks covered in travel stickers. People stepped forward eagerly, reaching for their belongings. But Rex wasn't watching the travelers. His eyes were glued to the opening at the top of the belt, where new Suitcase emerged one by one. Mark tightened his grip on the leash. "Rex, talk to me. What's going on?" But the dog didn't blink. His breathing deepened, chest rising and falling in sharp bursts. His stance lowered, every muscle wired tight. A few travelers noticed and instinctively stepped back. Then it appeared. A heavy, dark gray suitcase. No identifying tags. But the moment it hit the belt, Rex reacted like he'd been struck. His entire body jerked forward. His ears shot straight up. A guttural growl rolled from his chest, low at first, then deepening into something primal. Mark felt the leash vibrate in his hand. "Whoa, easy, easy," he whispered, but Rex was no longer listening. Passengers paused mid-step. A mother pulled her child closer. Two TSA officers exchanged worried glances. Rex took a step forward. Then another. He barked once, sharp, explosive, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Heads turned. Cameras lifted. The suitcase slid closer, its wheels clacking softly along the belt. Rex paced sideways, following it with unblinking intensity. Mark felt a chill crawl up his spine. Rex never reacted this strongly. Not to drugs, not to explosives, not even during drills. "Jensen." An officer called urgently. "What's he alerting on?" "I don't know," Mark muttered, eyes narrowing. "But whatever it is, it's not normal." Rex pulled harder, claws scraping across the smooth floor as the suitcase approached the pickup zone. His growl deepened into a warning, one that sent a ripple of fear through everyone nearby. Something was inside that suitcase. Something wrong. Something Rex could sense long before anyone else. The moment the gray suitcase reached the pickup area, Rex snapped. 1 second, he was growling. The next, he launched. Mark barely had time to react. "Rex, no!" he shouted, but the German Shepherd was already in midair, teeth bared, paws outstretched. Travelers screamed and stumbled backward as Rex crashed into the suitcase, knocking it off the conveyor belt with a heavy thud. The impact echoed through the terminal. Security froze. People scattered. Rex snarled, circling the fallen suitcase like a predator cornering prey. His tail stood stiff, his body low, his eyes wild, not with rage, but with laser-focused urgency. He barked again and again, sharp and commanding, warning everyone to stay away. "Get back," Mark yelled, pulling the leash, but Rex wouldn't budge. The dog planted his paws firmly on the ground and shoved his nose against the suitcase's edge, sniffing with frantic desperation. His whimpers broke through the chaos. Raw and uneasy. 2 TSA officers rushed over. "Is it a bomb?" one asked, voice shaking. Mark didn't answer. He didn't know. Rex never reacted like this to explosives. His alerts were controlled, calculated. But this was different. This was personal. Passengers backed up as alarms blared overhead. Airport staff began ushering people away, shouting for everyone to clear the area. A mother cried as she pulled her children behind a pillar. A businessman dropped his briefcase and ran. Rex dug his claws into the suitcase's zipper, trying to tear it open with his teeth. Mark grabbed his harness. "Rex, stand down." But the dog spun around, eyes burning with a plea Mark had never seen before. "Don't stop me." Rex turned back, pressing his paws firmly onto the suitcase, growling at anyone who came within reach. Whispers spread. Fear grew. Officers raised their weapons cautiously. Something inside that suitcase had triggered not just fear, but instinct. Deep, primal instinct. And whatever it was, Rex was willing to fight the entire world to get to it. Within seconds, the airport's comm shattered. An alarm wailed overhead, followed by a stern announcement echoing through the terminal. "Security breach in Terminal 3. Please evacuate immediately." This is not a drill. Travelers gasped, abandoning carts and luggage as panic rippled outward. Lines dissolved into chaos. Even the airport staff struggled to steady their voices as they guided crowds toward emergency exits. Meanwhile, Rex remained planted over the gray suitcase, refusing to let anyone near. His growls vibrated through the floor tiles. Mark stood beside him, shielding him with one arm and signaling officers with the other. "We need a perimeter now. Keep everyone back." Within moments, armed airport security formed a tight circle around Rex, and the suitcase. Yellow tape went up. Officers pushed bystanders away, shouting commands. The baggage carousel screeched to a halt. The lights flickered. Two bomb squad technicians rushed in, helmets under their arms, faces tense. "What's the alert?" one asked. Mark swallowed hard. "Rex hit on this bag, hard. But it's different. I've never seen him react like this." The technician knelt a few feet from the suitcase, but Rex snapped and lunged, forcing him to stop immediately. "He won't let me approach," the tech said, shaken. "This is abnormal for a trained K9. Mark didn't disagree. Rex wasn't just alerting. He was protecting, guarding. Desperate, a supervisor barked orders into his radio. "Shut down Terminal 3. No flights in or out until we clear this." The entire airport held its breath. Families huddled behind pillars. Officers exchanged uneasy glances, and through the flashing lights and rising tension, Rex stood like a soldier on the front lines. The tension in Terminal 3 thickened with every passing second, but Rex was unmoving. A wall of muscle and instinct, the guardian refusing to budge. Mark tried again, lowering his voice. "Rex, buddy, stand down." He reached for the harness, gentle, patient, and Rex snapped his head toward him with a sharp, warning bark, not at Mark, not out of aggression, but out of desperation, as if saying, "Don't take me away from this." Mark froze. In 5 years of working together, Rex had never once overridden a command. Never. He was the definition of discipline. But now, everything in his posture, his rigid stance, his trembling tail, his frantic breaths, screamed that something inside that suitcase mattered more than the rules. A bomb squad technician edged closer. "Let's try again. We need to check the bag." Rex exploded into another deep growl, baring his teeth. His paws dug into the suitcase as if he was claiming it, protecting it. Mark lifted his hands. "Back up," he warned. "He's not giving permission." "It's a suitcase, Jensen," the technician muttered. "It doesn't need permission." But Mark shook his head. "This isn't a normal alert. Look at him." Rex was trembling, not from fear, but from emotional agitation. His nose kept nudging the corner of the suitcase, whining between growls. His eyes weren't sharp like when he sensed explosives. They were anxious, pleading, almost heartbroken. "Sir," a younger security officer whispered. "It's like he thinks there's someone in there." Mark's stomach twisted. Dogs alerted to bombs, to drugs, to weapons. But this was the posture of a dog defending something precious. Rex pressed his chest against the suitcase and let out a soft, broken whimper, one that silenced the entire terminal. Whatever was inside that bag wasn't threatening him. It was calling to him. With Rex guarding the suitcase like a lifeline, Mark signaled the airport surveillance team. "Pull up footage from the last 15 minutes, he ordered. "I want to know who dropped this bag." Security officers hurried into the control room, screens flickering with views from every angle of Terminal 3. The atmosphere buzzed with urgency. One technician rewound the footage, eyes narrowing as passengers blurred by. "There," she said suddenly, pointing. "Pause it." On the screen stood a man in a dark hoodie, head lowered, face obscured by a cap. He wasn't rushing like the others. He wasn't distracted or confused. He moved with unsettling purpose. They watched as he placed the gray suitcase gently on the conveyor belt, then looked around, scanning the area as if checking for witnesses, and seconds later, he walked away, not toward baggage claim, not toward the exit, but toward the opposite direction, moving quickly, weaving through crowds, eventually breaking into a light sprint. Mark's jaw tightened. Why run unless you're hiding something? Another officer pulled up additional camera feeds. He exits near Gate 14, then heads toward Terminal 1. After that, he disappears. No boarding pass, no check-in, no trace. A chill crawled across the room. A bomb squad tech muttered. So whoever owns that suitcase knew exactly what he was doing. Mark exhaled slowly, and he left something behind for a reason. In the terminal, Rex hadn't moved an inch. His paw rested on the suitcase as if he were shielding it from the world. The crowd murmured nervously. Officers exchanged grim looks. Whoever that man was, he didn't just abandon a bag, that he abandoned a secret. And Rex, the only one who sensed the truth, was refusing to let it remain. Hidden. A bomb squad robot rolled forward on thick rubber wheels, its mechanical arm extending toward the gray suitcase. The terminal had gone silent. No footsteps, no murmurs, No soft airport music. Only the faint hum of the robot and Rex's uneven breathing filled the space. Mark knelt beside his canine partner, gently stroking Rex's back. "Easy, boy. We're going to figure this out," he whispered. But Rex wasn't calming down. His eyes stayed glued to the suitcase, ears pinned forward, muscles shaking with an urgency Mark couldn't ignore. The bomb tech spoke into his headset. Robot approaching the bag. Adjusting arm. Preparing for X-ray. The robot lowered its sensor panel and scanned the suitcase. A grainy outline flickered onto the technician's tablet. The man's face drained of color. Captain, you need to see this." Mark stepped closer, peering at the strange shape. It wasn't the rigid structure of explosives. It wasn't brick-like packages of narcotics that it was. Irregular, curved, soft, and small. "Is that?" The tech swallowed hard. "It's not a bomb." Rex let out a low, mournful whine, pawing at the suitcase. "Okay, we're opening it manually," the technician said, signaling his partner. Two bomb squad members in heavy protective suits approached slowly, gripping the latches with trembling gloves. "On three," one whispered. "1, 2, 3. They flipped the locks. The lid cracked open. A gasp rippled through the terminal. Inside the suitcase lay a thin blanket, dirty, wrinkled, trembling ever so slightly. The tech carefully pulled it back, and the crowd collectively staggered. A tiny face peeked out. Eyes swollen, skin pale. A small hand gripping the corner in fear. A child, curled up, barely breathing. Rex let out a cry that echoed through the hall. Not a bark, but something heartbreakingly human. The truth hit everyone at once. The dog wasn't alerting to danger, he was alerting to someone in desperate need of saving. A wave of stunned silence crashed over Terminal 3. Even the officers who had seen the worst of humanity took a step back, hands trembling. The child, no older than 5, blinked weakly under the harsh airport lights. Her tiny chest rose and fell in shallow, fragile breaths. Rex whimpered and pushed forward, forcing Mark to loosen his grip. The German shepherd lowered his head, sniffing gently at the trembling girl. His posture shifted instantly, no longer defensive, no longer alert. Now he was protective. "Tender, get medics here now," Mark shouted. His voice cracked, urgency punching through every word. A paramedic team rushed in, kneeling beside the child. One of them carefully lifted her out of the suitcase. She weighed almost nothing. Her wrists bore faint marks from tight binding. Her clothes rumpled as if she'd been hidden for hours, maybe longer, but it was her eyes that broke everyone. Wide, terrified, and searching for something familiar, Rex stepped closer, and she immediately focused on him. Her fingers, so small, so delicate, reached out and tangled in his fur. "She's responding to the dog," a medic whispered in disbelief. "He's the only thing she trusts." The girl tried to speak, but her voice cracked into a whimper. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she buried her face against Rex's neck. The dog stood perfectly still, letting her cling to him, letting her sob into his fur. Mark swallowed hard. "Rex, you knew." The bomb squad captain exhaled shakily. He wasn't detecting explosives. He was detecting fear. People around them wiped their eyes. Some prayed. Some cursed. Because the truth was undeniable. Inside that ordinary gray suitcase was a stolen child, frightened, helpless, and hidden from the world. And if not for Rex, she never would have been found in time. The little girl trembled uncontrollably in the medic's arms, her fingers still clutching tightly at Rex's fur. Every time someone tried to move her away, even gently, she cried out and buried herself deeper against him. It was as if Rex was the only safe place left in her world. Mark knelt beside them, speaking softly. "Hey, you're okay now. We've got you." But the girl didn't look at him. She didn't look at the medics. Her frightened eyes stayed fixed on Rex, searching his face for reassurance. Rex slowly lowered himself to the ground, stretching his neck out so she could rest against him more comfortably. He licked her hand once, gentle, patient, and she let out a shaky breath. The first sign of calm she'd shown. The medics exchanged astonished looks. "I've never seen anything like this," one whispered. "Let's check her vitals." "While she stays with the dog," another suggested. "If he's keeping her stable emotionally, let's not break that." They worked carefully around Rex, who didn't move a muscle. His eyes never left the girl. Every time her breathing quickened, he nudged her cheek gently. Every time she whimpered, he pressed closer, shielding her from the noise and lights. Mark felt a lump form in his throat. This wasn't instinct. It wasn't training. It was compassion, recognition. A soul protecting another soul. The girl's fingers loosened slightly, no longer gripping in terror, now holding on with trust. She's safe, Mark murmured. Because of you, buddy. Rex's tail thumped once against the floor. Subtle but full of meaning. In a terminal full of alarms, fear, and confusion, one thing shone through clearly. To this child, Rex wasn't just a dog. He was her rescuer, her anchor, her hope. While medics tended to the child and Rex guarded her like a living shield. Mark turned toward the security monitors again. His voice was sharp, urgent. We need eyes on that man, the one who dropped the suitcase. Pull every angle, every hallway. Officers rushed to comply, rewinding footage and switching between camera feeds. The tension in the control room thickened as images flickered across the screens. Finally, one officer pointed abruptly. There, he's moving toward Terminal 1. The footage showed the hooded man weaving through crowds, glancing over his shoulder repeatedly. His posture wasn't panicked, it was practiced. Calculated. He knew what he was doing. Mark clenched his fists. Zoom in. The man's face was still hidden, but something became clear. He wasn't wandering. He was targeting places crowded with families, scanning for someone vulnerable. Another officer stepped forward, pale. Sir, look at this. He pulled up a separate camera angle, captured just minutes earlier. The man wasn't just dropping the suitcase. He had been watching children near the check-in counters, watching parents step away, watching opportunities that a cold wave washed over the room. This wasn't a one-time crime. This was a predator. A trafficker. Mark's jaw tightened. Lock every exit. Issue a code red. He's still in the airport, and he's hunting. Outside the control room, Rex suddenly lifted his head, ears stiffening. The little girl tensed, clutching his fur. Someone, had triggered her fear again. Mark's radio crackled. Officer Jensen. Suspect spotted heading toward Terminal 2 escalators, moving fast. Rex growled, low and instinctive, as if he understood every word. The girl's eyes widened with terror. She whispered weakly, pointing toward the distant hall. Him. Don't let him. Mark didn't need more. Rex, we're going, he said. Rising, Rex stood instantly, alert, ready. Protective. The kidnapper wasn't gone. He was still playing a deadly game inside the airport. And now, both Rex and his tiny survivor were guiding the officers straight to him. The moment the radio crackled with the suspect's location, Mark snapped into motion. All units, move to Terminal 2. Suspect heading toward the escalators. His voice echoed across the terminal, sharp and commanding. Rex was already ahead of him, pulling at the leash with fierce determination. The little girl, now safely with paramedics, reached out toward Rex as they left, her shaky voice barely audible. Please stop him. Rex gave a single bark, as if promising her he would. Mark sprinted beside his partner as they raced through the airport. Security officers cleared a path, shouting for travelers to step back. Suitcases toppled, people gasped, and a wave of confusion spread through Terminal 2 as the K-9 unit barreled forward like a force of nature to the top of the escalators. A flash of movement caught Mark's eye. The hooded man was pushing his way through the crowd, shoving travelers aside as he tried to escape. Stop! Police! Mark roared. The suspect didn't look back. He leapt onto the escalator, stumbling as he shoved past a family. Panic erupted around him. Rex growled, ears pinned forward, muscles coiled like springs. Mark unclipped the harness. Go! Rex exploded forward, an arrow of fur and fury, racing up the escalator steps 3 at a time. People screamed and pressed aside as the K-9 charged past them. The suspect glanced over his shoulder, eyes widening in terror at the sight of the relentless German shepherd closing in. Don't let him reach the exits. An officer yelled from below. Mark pushed upward, heart pounding. Watching Rex gain ground with every stride, the chase was on, and this time, Rex wasn't just following a scent. He was protecting the child who had clung to him. The one he refused to fail. The suspect burst off the top of the escalator and sprinted toward the glass walkway leading to Terminal 2's side exit. Travelers screamed as he shoved past them, knocking a suitcase aside and nearly tripping over a stroller. His breath came out ragged, panicked. He knew the airport was closing in on him, but Rex was faster, much faster. The German Shepherd flew off the escalator with incredible force, claws scraping against the polished tiles. His eyes locked on the fleeing man with laser-focused intensity. Mark was right behind him, shouting warnings to clear the path. Officers scattered strategically, closing in from multiple directions. But Rex was the spearhead, the unstoppable force leading the hunt. The suspect darted around a corner toward the emergency exit, fumbling for the handle. His hands shook as he tried to yank it open before the security lock engaged. "Come on, come on," he hissed under his breath that he never got the chance. Rex launched at a blur of muscle, speed, and righteous fury. He collided with the man's back, knocking him flat onto the cold floor. The suspect cried out as Rex pinned him down, teeth bared only inches from his throat, but controlled, precise, refusing to let him move a single inch. "Don't move," Mark shouted as he reached them. "Hands behind your back." The man struggled, but Rex pressed harder, a deep growl vibrating through the hallways. Officers swarmed in, dragging the suspect's arms behind him and snapping cuffs around his wrists. He had a boarding pass for a flight leaving in 10 minutes. An officer yelled, holding up evidence pulled from the man's pocket. Mark's jaw tightened. He was planning to take another child. Rex stepped back only once the man was fully restrained. His chest heaved with adrenaline, water dripping from his muzzle as he stared at the suspect with burning intensity, not hatred, but the instinctive protectiveness of a guardian who knew exactly what was at stake. Mark knelt beside his partner, placing a steady hand on his neck. "You did it, buddy," he whispered. "You stopped him." And in the glow of the airport lights, Rex stood tall, the hero who refused to let evil slip away. Back in Terminal 3, the little girl sat wrapped in a warm emergency blanket, her small hands trembling as medics checked her vitals. The chaos had faded, replaced by a heavy, aching silence. She refused to let go of Rex's vest the moment he returned. The dog leaned gently against her, sensing her fear, offering every ounce of comfort he had. Mark crouched beside her. "You're safe now," he said softly. "No one will ever hurt you again." The girl swallowed hard, her lip quivering, eyes red from crying. She looked around cautiously before whispering, "He took me." The man with the black hat. One of the medics paused. "Do you know him?" She shook her head. "No. He said he would take me to my mommy. But he lied." Her voice cracked. "He put me in the bag, told me not to make a sound." Rex let out a deep, mournful rumble, pressing closer as if shielding her from the memory itself. That Mark's heart twisted. "Did you try to call for help?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I kicked the suitcase. I tried, but nobody heard me." The officers exchanged pained glances, except someone had heard her, someone who didn't need words, someone who understood fear long before humans noticed it. She placed a shaky hand on Rex's cheek. "But he heard me," she whispered. "He came for me." Rex licked her palm gently, tail tapping the floor. Mark exhaled, emotion tightening his throat. "Yeah," he whispered. "He always does." In that moment, the truth settled deep into everyone's hearts. This child hadn't been saved by luck. She had been saved by loyalty, instinct, and a hero with 4 paws and an unbreakable soul. 2 hours later, the airport had returned to a fragile calm. Flights resumed, announcements echoed again, and travelers moved through the terminals, still whispering about the heroic K-9 who had stopped a tragedy. News cameras gathered near the security office, but Rex wasn't interested in attention. He sat quietly beside the little girl, who now held a warm cup of cocoa, her head resting against his shoulder. Mark stood a few steps away, watching them with pride swelling in his chest. "You saved her life today," he murmured to Rex. "Not because you were trained to, but because you cared." Airport officials approached, gratitude etched across their faces. "Officer Jensen," one said, "your K-9 prevented a catastrophe. We want to honor him publicly. The entire airport owes him everything." Mark smiled, glancing at his partner. He didn't do it for applause. Rex gently nuzzled the girl's cheek, and she giggled, her first laugh since being rescued. She wrapped her small arms around his neck, her voice soft but full of emotion. "Can I see him again?" Mark kneeled beside them. "As long as he's working here, he'll always watch over you." A round of applause broke out from the officers nearby, spreading through the hall as travelers recognized the dog at the center of the miracle. Cameras flashed. People wiped tears, but Rex didn't react to any of it. His focus remained on the girl, his rescued passenger. Mark placed a gentle hand on the dog's back. "Let's go home, partner. You've earned it." As they walked out of Terminal 3, side by side, the sun dipped beautifully behind the airport glass, and everyone who witnessed that moment knew one thing for certain. Heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they wear fur.